So how do you generate more leads from social media ads? It's a great question. It's a common question, and I'm going to unpack the answer in this session. It's quite a detailed answer, and we actually need to zoom out a little bit to understand the root cause of not generating leads from a social media environment, and also understanding the difference between search lead gen and scroll lead gen. So search lead gen is your traditional lead gen, where you go to Google or Bing or a search engine, you type in a query to get the result, you're searching for the result that you're after. Whereas scroll lead gen, it's a completely different environment, different dynamic. We're interrupting people who are not actively looking. And fundamentally, and as I'll explain, that's what we need to understand. So as always, if you want to speed this video up, it'd be a gear icon or something on the bottom part of the player that lets you get through this faster. I realize you're busy. So if you want to speed me up, feel free to do that now. So in this session, I'm going to answer these 4 questions. Number 1, why don't scroll or social leads convert as easily as search leads? Number 2, what makes social media lead gen fundamentally different from inbound marketing or search marketing? What an effective social media lead gen funnel looks like. And yes, there is still space, there is still latitude to discuss a funnel in this scenario. I know it's been done to death, but a funnel is still an effective thought model that even at the CEO and executive level, it's very important to consider that when we analyze this problem. And then lastly, how do you actually get better results? How do you generate more leads from social media? And that's by increasing trust and motivation. And that's sort of the core of the solution, of the answer to this question. So let's dive right in. Number 1, why don't scroll or social media leads convert as easily as search leads? And what we've got to do here is consider the environment in which we are pulling these leads from. So in a search environment, and I've alluded to this already, search leads are already actively searching for a solution. They're already searching, obviously. And what that means is they're in a different mindset, as opposed to the scrolling environment where we're showing ads to people who aren't searching. They've gone there to relax, to escape the real world, to go brain dead for a while. They've had a big day. Get that dopamine hit from the stuff that we do and see on social media. So understanding the fundamentals of the difference between these two environments helps shape our response in changing the strategy for social media lead generation. So some of these other points here. So a search lead is already motivated, whereas a scroll lead, their interest is very passive. There's low urgency. They're not actively. There's no urgency around engaging you straight away. Search leads trust the platform. So when we go to Google, we know, or most of us know, there's this general sort of accepted paradigm that when you search for something on Google, they're going to give you a decent result that you can trust. And Google works really hard to maintain that, to achieve that goal, to become the trusted source of this part of the research or decision-making process. Whereas on social media, trust is a little more scarce. And people natively, trust is, in Australia right now, trust is generally at a bit of an all-time low. We're in what's called the trust recession, and this is a thing you can Google. It's been researched by Edelman, Roy Morgan, I think, as well, where consumer trust is low. This is amplified on social media, I think, because of the low barrier to entry to producing ads, to the fact that ads can look, they don't look like ads, ugly ads they're called, and other reasons as well that I won't go into now. So generating leads on social in a scroll environment, we've got to factor this general sort of distrust that people have in the environment and the process. And then at the bottom here on the search lead, there's lower friction. Obviously, people they've searched, they've gone to a landing page, they've liked what they've seen on the landing page to the point where they're ready to inquire. So a lead that comes through search is already so further down or through this internal decision-making process of liking and trusting, know, like, trust. Whereas on social media, that's just not there. Naturally, it's just not there. Which is a good segue into the question of what makes social media lead gen fundamentally different. It's the passive state versus the hunting mindset. And the diagram here, this is another good way to visualize it. This diagram is your total addressable market. And you might recognize the ratios here. This is called the larger market formula. And what this suggests is that at any given time, 3% of your total addressable market, and your total addressable market is the cohort of potential people that could work with you or could buy from you or engage you. 3% are ready to buy now, so they're your hyper-responsive buyers. 70% are gathering information, so they're problem aware. They know they're a bit more advanced than being problem aware. They're problem aware and they're researching a solution. 20% are just problem aware, so they haven't started the process yet. And then 60% are not problem aware. Maybe they will be one day, but they're not right now. And generally, this model is good for working out a strategy based on where people are in their journey. And search is at the top of this model. So those that are buying now and those that are gathering information is search. That's the dynamic for search lead gen. And then scroll is people who are mostly problem aware, probably not problem aware, and maybe there are some who are gathering information and are ready to buy now. But we've got to assume that scroll lead gen, there's more work to be done to get them to ascend into gathering info or buying now. Now, a side note is that the Facebook Advantage Plus targeting algorithm is getting pretty good now at detecting people who are actually, where's my mouse? Here it is. Detecting people who are gathering info about solving a problem or creating an outcome that you provide, or even buying now. So the new algo Advantage Plus is good at this, but nature of the ratio and the size of these ratios is that mostly, the sort of huge, the wide audience that we can target on Facebook are predominantly going to be in the sort of bottom half of this diagram. Another good way to look at this is with our traditional funnel. And the question here is, what does an effective social media lead gen funnel look like? Now, comparing the two, scroll versus search. A scroll, they're at the top in the awareness quadrant or section, whereas search, they're further down in consideration or decision. What this means is that we've got to apply effort and pressure in a way that moves a social media scroll prospect down the funnel. And there are two ways in which we do that. There's increasing trust and increasing motivation. And these two kernels, these two core things that somebody has to feel in their heart and in their mind, is the foundation of the strategy that I will walk you through. And that's in a 2x2 matrix, which we can see here. Now, so the question is, how do I increase trust and motivation so I generate more leads from social media? And what we can do is create or place people in a 2x2 matrix based on whether they feel high or low motivation, high or low trust. Now, before we get to our solution, which is our accelerators here, let's place the two. So a search lead probably is high motivation and low trust at the very start of their journey. So they're motivated to solve a problem. They've searched for a solution. They found you. They've read your landing page to the point where they're comfortable enough to inquire with you. So trust is probably low. And as they talk to you and as you start your sales process, their trust will increase naturally as you go through your sales process, or whatever path to purchase somebody has to follow to become a customer or a client. Now, social media leads or scroll naturally are going to be low motivation and low trust because of where they are. If we zoom back to the top here, they're problem aware or not problem aware. Generally, they're in the awareness stage, which means that naturally, we don't start with high trust or high motivation when we are immediately introduced to a problem that maybe we didn't know that we have, or a solution that we didn't know we needed just yet. And so they're going to need time and these things here that I'll walk through to help them ascend or migrate towards high motivation and high trust. So with that in mind, how do we do this? There's two fundamental strategies or sets of tactics that we implement here, and we call these offer accelerators and then authority accelerators. Now, an offer accelerator is designed to increase motivation, and there are lots of different offer accelerators that help motivate a social media or a scroll lead. I've got 3 examples here, and I'll quickly introduce you or explain what these are, just so you get a general feel for how that might apply to your situation. Firstly, we have an urgency motivator. Now let's zoom out and say that we are a mortgage broker and we are running ads on social media, and of course, as we know, we are interrupting people in their environment where they've gone to escape the real world, and we hit them with an offer that says, hey, let's have a chat. Let's talk about your current situation, where you are now and where you want to be. So obviously you want to buy a home or refinance your home. Where you want to be is you want to move into the home that you really love, or you want to have a mortgage solution that means that you're not overpaying, that there's some nice perks for your future growth, all that sort of stuff. Now, that sort of offer in that sort of industry, it's hard to differentiate that. It's hard to do something because of compliance and the way the industry works and lots of other reasons. So we need a way to get people to move now and choose you. So an urgency motivator could be something like the first 5 people to inquire with us and apply for a loan with our mortgage broking firm this month will receive a $500 gift voucher. Now, we won't talk about the economics of how you fund that. Side note, you that comes out of your commission, the first upfront commission, but that doesn't really matter. This is designed to get people to say, oh, okay, great. Well, I better move now because I want that $500 reward. It's limited to 5. That's where the urgency comes in. That can be repeated every month on an ongoing basis. So the campaign messaging is evergreen, but the urgency timeline is limited to that particular month or whatever you set that to be. Another offer accelerator is a session performance guarantee. And basically what we're saying here is, coming back to our mortgage broker example, if I can't give you 3 great strategies that's going to help you get the loan that you really want or save a certain amount of money per month, if I can't give you those 3 strategies, I'll give you a gift card, or I'll buy you a pizza, or I'll buy you something of that you find valuable. Now, there is a caveat to this. This sort of session performance guarantee, you have got to exclude tie kickers. So you can't just accept anybody who's not qualified to obviously apply for a loan. And you've also got to deliver a really impactful session with lots of good strategies. We won't talk about that too much now, but when done well, this really nails it. This is a very effective strategy at attracting the right people, getting them to actually answer the phone, because this changes their expectation of value. So instead of thinking, oh, it's a risk talking to this broker because they might not be able to help me, that changes from, I'm going to talk to this broker, and either way, if they can help me, amazing, I'm going to get a great loan. But if they can't, then I'm going to get a gift voucher, for example. Like I said, there is a caveat. You have to exclude people, and you have got to deliver a great session. So don't just go and dive right in and then contact me and complain because it's not working for you. There are nuances to it, but fundamentally that's what you're doing here. Is you're guaranteeing their investment in their time to chat with you to start your sales process. And then lastly, we have a service performance guarantee, and this is a traditional guarantee where it says, look, if the solution that we provide you doesn't provide the expected result that we say it will, we'll compensate you in some way. So a classic guarantee. So those are offer accelerators, and as you can probably tell, they're designed to increase motivation, to get people to act sooner rather than later, reduce the risk that they feel that might be stopping them from engaging you, and positioning you in a different place than your competitors. And then finally, we have authority accelerators, and these are designed to build trust. They're designed to, again, help you stand out in a crowded marketplace. And these are particularly good in industries where you're bound by compliance. You can't naturally go and disrupt things because of how you do what you do or the way that the industry works. Classic professional services firms are a good example. where if you're a broker, you can't go and do some wild new thing. If you're an accountant, financial planner, a law firm, you can't go and do wild new stuff to completely disrupt your industry. So you need to rely on these authority accelerators to help you build trust and differentiate your business without having to go and create that wild differentiation. So what are some of these accelerators? The first is a unique value proposition or a unique selling proposition. You've probably heard of this. This is demonstrating how you provide unique value that your competitors cannot. I won't talk too much about that now because I think you'll be familiar with this. The next is a signature system. And I love this concept. I love the signature system because it allows you to drive a point of differentiation by explaining how your process is different instead of your business model. The beauty of it is that, and let's go back to our mortgage broker analogy, is that with a signature system, you create a name for your process, you assign sub-methodologies, you create sub-methodologies for your process in a way that people read your messaging and go, okay. I mean, right, these guys are going to get me a home loan, but the way in which they do it is different. It sounds like it's different, and it sounds like the value that they provide is slightly different based on their process. So if you can solve a particular problem for a particular prospect type, create a certain solution for a particular prospect type, and then tie it back to your unique process as the differentiator, and also use that to create curiosity and weave that into your messaging where the labels that we apply your process to your process, people read and go, oh, that's interesting. What is that? And then causes them to read more on your ad, or either click through to a landing page or read an email or watch a blog post or whatever that might be. That is going to set you apart in a way that your competitors simply cannot achieve, because the name you've got for your signature system, the process that you've articulated is completely different and is not the same as what your competitors are doing. Anyway, I won't dive into this too much now, but I love this because it lets a business who can't naturally differentiate itself find a point of difference by articulating a different process instead of a business model. Number 3 here is empathy statements. And this empathy is such an untapped and underutilized strategy that when you get this right, when you nail it, your marketing is light years ahead of your competitors. And there's 3 ways in which we do this: dream state, enemy state, and then pain state. So if you can articulate your prospect's dream almost better than they can. Now, in the case of a mortgage broker, the dream is not to get a loan. The dream is not really to get a home, kind of. The dream is to have those memories with your family. The dream is to start a hobby in your spare room, or a business in your spare room, or have friends around and play in your pool and create memories that you have for the rest of your life. That's the real dream that a mortgage broker is trying to help their clients get. So if you can articulate your understanding of what your prospect's dream is, the real thing that they really want, not just the product, not just the transaction, that will set you light years ahead. Next is the enemy. So if you can articulate who what's stopping your prospect from getting the outcome, from getting the dream. So in this case of a mortgage broker, the enemy is the bank, where the prospect might be thinking, yeah, the bloody bank didn't give me the loan I wanted, so what do I do now? Or I'm worried that the bank will say no. What do I do? And then if you can articulate how you fight their enemy for them to the point where you can get them the result, that will set you light years ahead. And then finally, the pain. So we all know about problem-based marketing. If you can articulate the pain that those problems create and demonstrate that you deeply understand those pains, even better than your prospects can, so they read it and go, wow, yeah, that actually is the uncomfortableness that I'm feeling. That is the pain that I'm feeling. It's like this person is reading a page out of my diary. That builds trust, that builds authority, and sets you apart much further than your competitors. Number 4 here, we have differentiated knowledge posture. And this is, in the world of AI, information is available anywhere. People can search, ask questions in a GPT model, or even on Google now, or Perplexity, or wherever, and get the information that they want, which means that classic blogging, where you provide 10 reasons to do something, or how to do X, Y, and Z, that sort of blogging is losing relevance because of the rise of AI. A good, effective, differentiated knowledge posture contains your opinions and your insights. This is the stuff that's going to set you apart. If you can explain, why you think something is happening, or how you think it's happening, or a prediction, or an insight into why something is happening, that will set you apart, as opposed to sharing content that is just like 5 reasons to do something. Number 5 here is proof stacking. And this is where we take things like your reviews, testimonials, case studies, accreditations, awards, all that sort of stuff. And instead of being in lots of different fragmented, splintered places, we stack it all together in landing pages and ads and emails and blog posts and so forth. And then finally, and probably one of the most important parts, is a consistent nurturing mechanism. And this is basically setting up a rhythm where you're doing all of this stuff consistently on a regular basis. So in digital marketing, as a CEO or as an executive, you're familiar with the concept of a marketing campaign. And marketing campaigns have been the core, they're a core delivery vehicle for marketing messages and creating outcomes for decades. They've always been around. Whereas we need to change our mindset into a regular rhythm for blogging and emailing and sharing content on social media and showing up to our prospects as soon as they inquire. You've got to be consistent. And I'm mentioning this because your competitors probably aren't doing this. So all you got to do is show up with stuff that you've planned, and it will drive a competitive wedge. So I don't think I have anything else to add. If we zoom back to our original problem, which is how do I generate more leads from social media? We want to increase motivation and increase trust using these 3 things.